Introducing a Gilmore Girls podcast. Welcome to Coffee and an IV, where we take a look back at our favorite TV show along with all of the beloved characters. It's time to revisit Stars Hollow. Hey guys, don't you love that beginning?
It is. It's cool. It's catchy.
It's fun. It seemed like Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, it's very catchy.
And it's not Gilmore Girls, but
I
it
like
fit the vibe.
I like it.
So we're in the same clothes as Monday because right after we recorded Monday's episode,
we jumped in and recorded Wednesday's episode.
So here we are. We don't wear the same clothes every day of the week. Don't worry.
I was going to say Wilma and Betty. Wilma Flintstone and Betty Rubble.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, they wore the same clothes all the time.
They didn't care.
Hey,
so I guess we should.
Hair.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that's perfect.
Wilma and Betty.
Yes. Okay, so we're back, ready to break down the rest of this episode. So we left you guys Monday with the Chilton first day experience. So we got Rory through getting her schedule and getting the class song that she may have to recite at any time.
And breaking Paris's project.
Oh, no, we haven't done that yet.
Oh, we didn't?
No, we'll get there. This is just the beginning.
My bad.
Wow, Jennifer.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so we're going to jump back in here, and we are back to Stars Hollow, back home, and we see Lorelais going into Luke's and begging Luke for coffee.
Which she always does.
Yes, and I always beg you for coffee. Right?
True.
So Jen and I are roommates. So in the mornings, she makes the best lavender coffee, and I make the best sausage gravy.
It's a great mix.
Great combination.
Exactly.
So you get your favorite, and I get my favorite. But I have to have my coffee in the morning, much like Lorelai. And this scene is actually where our quote comes in that we got to name this podcast. She says, "This is a jumbo coffee morning. I need coffee in an IV."
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because she sleeps in. She misses the alarm.
I know. She needed some coffee.
Yeah.
So what does Lorelai tell Luke?
That Rory started Chilton.
Yes.
And Luke says, "That's how you dress to take Rory to Chilton." Which
Poor
is what
Lorelai.
everybody was thinking.
Yes. And also,
This was a fun.
Lorelai mentions that she has a fuzzy clock that purrs to wake her up. Because I need one of those.
No. She needs one of those that slaps you in the face.
You're right.
Yeah.
Me too, probably.
Yeah.
But go back to fuzzy clock that purrs. So obviously it's a cat.
Yes.
But did they make one of those? You're the older one, so did you remember that?
I mean, there was a little black cat, I think, that would his eye would close and open.
That's funny.
So could be.
Well, apparently she has a fuzzy clock that purrs, and it didn't purr this morning.
Yeah, there was a Garfield phone.
Oh,
I had that.
that's cool.
Yeah, somewhere in France, they wash up on shore all the time.
What?
Yeah, it was a ship that wrecked. And every so often since the 80s,
the ship had Garfield phones on it?
They was carrying carrying product. It wrecked in a storm.
What?
And since the 80s, the Garfield phone washes up on shore every once in a while.
Fun fact from Jennifer. There you go. Always love your fun facts. That's funny. Okay, so after the Luke's coffee situation, she gets her coffee, and Lorelai walks through Stars Hollow, only to meet Miss Patty doing her thing and smoking a cigarette.
Smoking her cig on the porch.
Yes, and she says, "Isn't today Rory's first day at Chilton, and that's what you wore?" So another
everybody's
stab
got it.
at Lorelai.
Yeah.
Poor Lorelai. Okay, so then Lorelai gets out of her Jeep with all of her dry cleaning, and her phone is ringing off the hook inside the house.
Guess who it is?
I can only imagine.
It's Emily.
Emily Gilmore. So what is she attempting to do?
She's attempting to purchase Rory clothing.
Uniforms, right? So Lorelai says she has enough. And the maternal side of Emily really irritates Lorelai. We can see that. And we can only assume it's because she didn't really experience it as much, I guess. So she's annoyed by that.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need more clothes. Well, there's more days in the week than just needing 2 uniforms. So she needs 5. And, she pretends like washing machines aren't a thing, which I guess, or dry cleaning's not a thing, but Lorelai kind of proved herself on that one.
True. Exactly.
Okay. So we go back to the classroom and Paris is asking questions answering questions back to back, as Paris does. And who do we meet?
Tristan.
We meet Tristan. He comes in late and he immediately recognizes that there's a new girl in the room, Rory.
And he gives her the nickname Mary.
Were you expecting the meaning to Mary when Lorelai, and we're not going to talk about it yet, but Lorelai explains that at the end of this episode. Were you expecting that?
No.
Were you just confused?
I thought he was confusing Rory with Mary. Because it has an R and a Y in it.
Okay. All right. So the teacher gives her material at the end of class and says that her retake for the test could be Monday. And Rory is definitely intimidated because it is like maybe 2 bookfuls of information.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So just more intimidation. So in the hallway, Rory gets the chance to meet the lovely Paris officially. And Paris says, I know who you are, Lorelai Gilmore from Stars Hollow.
She just rattles off from the file.
Yes. And Paris immediately starts grilling her on what Rory's intentions are.
She lets her know this school is my domain.
Yes.
And Franklin is my domain, which is the newspaper.
Right. And I love how Rory always holds her own. She always does. She just kind of throws it back at Paris. And then we flash to Suki and we meet Jackson.
Who I forget they weren't together at first.
Right. He's one of my favorites.
He is. He's cool.
I love Jackson.
Yeah.
So Suki is grilling him on the fruit. I'm pretty sure it's peaches. And I love that their relationship unfolds over the whole series because she always acts just really annoyed with him.
Mm-hmm.
But,
she
veggies and fruits, right?
She's a chef.
Right.
She's a gardener.
Exactly. Okay, so Suki and Lorelai discuss the first day morning mishaps.
Yep. And
we see that relationship unfold, just them being best friends and just really relying on one another. And Suki is back to her old ways. She's so particular. I guess I say her old ways. It's the ways we're used to versus the pilot. So she's not messy. She's not all over the place. Did you notice that?
Yep.
And she's back to being very particular about her kitchen and particular about the fruit. I feel like messy Suki from pilot would not have cared.
No.
So
she's everywhere.
And she wouldn't have been rolling the peaches across the floor to see how they roll.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, she says something about it being small. If they're small, they don't have a lot of flavor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Michelle comes back in. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Go ahead,
It is funny. It is funny. So he says, if I am to fetch you like a dog, I'd like a cookie and a raise.
It's one of my most favorite quotes. Michelle is ruthless, even with the older women, as they walk through the inn, who ask where to find the best antiques. And Michelle responds, at your house, I'd assume. I love him.
Smart aleck.
So guess who's on the phone?
Emily.
She cannot stop today. So the conversation unfolds as Drella goes absolutely nuts on the heart. Just like, why are you there? Drella, why are you there?
Yeah.
And we find out that Emily bought a parking place for Rory at Chilton.
Parking space?
Place?
Space.
A parking place.
No, it's a space.
I say that.
Parking.
Place. A parking place.
I say space. Okay. In the comments below, say what you think.
A parking, we'll ask on Instagram too.
Space.
Parking space or place?
Space.
Probably spot.
You have space here. You type space.
Well, thanks for just pointing out that I misspoke.
You're
Now I'm
welcome.
trying to argue that it's correct. Okay, but the weird thing is she bought her this parking spot
Space.
and she doesn't have a car.
True.
So Lorelai brings that up, and Emily's like, so I'll buy her a car. And Lorelai is like, absolutely not. While Drella is still going crazy on the harp. So that's just another awkward. It's just another awkward conversation that Emily's just pushing herself into,
Just
you know?
trying to look out for
Okay, so moving on, because we're going to agree to disagree on that. We go back to Rory at Chilton, and Tristan approaches her and starts making her really uncomfortable, like approaches or advances at her. And he calls her Mary, which she's confused about, and she says it's Rory. And it's just a totally uncomfortable. Tristan just makes me just cringe.
Yeah, and he volunteers his notes, which he doesn't take.
But he says, "What are you gonna do for the notes?" Which is just so uncomfortable, right? And yeah, of course, you can tell he's probably. I mean, he's at Chilton, but I feel like it's probably a family thing.
Oh yeah.
Which we later see that unfold a little bit more, but yeah, just really uncomfy all the way around. And then we go back to Lorelai. It's a lot of flashes here and there. We're back to Lorelai handling all the antics at the inn. And this time it's the valet driver who can't seem to park a car without scratching it and who apparently can't drive. But she's handling it, and he flirts with her, and the Gilmore Girls just can't stop the guys today.
Because then enters
Chilton,
fancy fella dad.
Yes.
And it's the same day. That's a little much.
Like within a few hours.
Yeah.
It's not even lunchtime yet. He's coming there for lunch.
I'll be like, oh my goodness, it's creepy.
You're desperate.
Yeah. That he remembered where I said I worked.
Exactly. So Lorelai immediately refuses to flirt or date with him, which she kind of flirted with him in the morning, you know?
Okay.
But this time
she dates the teacher.
Right.
Where are we at here?
Exactly. But she refuses to flirt and date with another Chilton parent, and she doesn't want anything to make Rory uncomfortable, which I get. And good grief, Drella, she keeps going on the harp.
But she does say when she finishes, "That's lunch." That's my favorite line.
I love her.
That's lunch.
I love her, but I don't. You know, she's just there.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that? The Chilton dad thing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. And you do make a good point that she later dates the teacher.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now we're flashing back to Rory.
Oh, yeah.
And she is trying to open her locker, which you tried to spoil on Monday's episode.
I'm sorry. I hated opening lockers in school.
So I had a locker, actually. Only for middle school.
Okay, I had a locker middle school and high school.
Yeah, I didn't have one for high school. That was not in the new high school.
You didn't put lockers in the new school?
Mm-mm. And I didn't get one at the old school just because I didn't need it.
Wow.
Yep.
But
lockers aren't really a thing.
That was one of the stressors in school, was figuring out how to open your locker. And then they would jam.
Right.
Yeah.
So we see her trying to open this locker, and it just happens slow-mo, like when my kids are doing something and I see it across the room and I'm trying to stop it. She falls into Paris's school project, shattering it. There's literally water in the moat of Paris's project.
What does she say? Is that water in the moat?
Mm-hmm. And Paris is just really annoyed. So then she finds out that she has to enter the classroom that Paris just walked into. And Tristan brings up, "Hey, Mary," again. And what happens?
Paris gets called out and she doesn't have her project.
Yeah.
And Rory, being Rory, stands up and says, "I busted it. I tore it up. Wrecked it."
So the teacher gives Rory the assignment of helping Paris fix her project. Paris doesn't want the help. She refuses it. And so she says, "Paris, you can get it done. If you can get it done by tomorrow, I'll grade it." So it's really uncomfortable. It's really awful and really sad. But Rory, I think at the end of that, Paris like comes up to her and says something about, I'm going to make this the most miserable experience for you. And poor Rory, she's just trying her best.
Yeah.
Total accident, right? Okay, so then we go back again to Stars Hollow. Lorelai goes back into Luke's, which Luke states is unusual. Apparently, she doesn't go in that much. She tells him how crazy the day was and about the dad asking her out. And he asks when she's going, and she explained that she is not going to go. And he says, good.
Yeah, their looks to each other are
right.
like, yeah.
And we all know that he's happy she's not going out with a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this like really sweet, awkward look between them that is just kind of like, okay, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
And we are introduced to the no cell phone sign in Luke's,
yes.
which Jennifer got a shirt.
It says no cell phones.
yes, she'll have to wear it on one of the episodes.
Yeah.
But it is awesome. But we're introduced to the no cell phone sign as Lorelai's phone rings. And it's Babette. And so then we get the chance to meet Babette and Maury, which I love them.
Oh, yeah.
I truly do. And someone has just shown up to Lorelai's house. And now we meet, okay, there's an argument here. Another banter.
Oh.
It's confusing because it sounds like Mick with an M.
Mick or Nick, I don't know.
And Jen's like, it's Nick. And I was like, I think it's Mick. And we went back several times trying to determine it. And I even tried to zoom in on the computer on his name, his name tag.
M and N are too close.
But it doesn't matter because we don't like Mick. We like Kirk.
Exactly.
So I guess Kirk wasn't a thing until they must have just fallen in love with him.
So cool. They
but
wrote him in.
I think that's what the writer of the Gilmore Girls did a lot. She just wrote people in. Remember with the audition for Paris, she just wrote her in. So maybe she just really loved. Are you tired?
I can't. My brain needs oxygen.
Does the Gilmore Girls bore you?
No. It's the dark sky. So.
We're used to recording during the day.
Yeah.
So he's trying to install internet because of no other than the Emily Gilmore.
DSL's faster. She's trying to help Rory.
Okay, so we've determined that Jennifer is an Emily Gilmore super fan. Okay, so Lorelai sends them away, and we flash back to Rory writing Paris a note. Oh, so I'm sorry, I jumped ahead earlier. Rory writes Paris a note saying, I'm so sorry, and then that's when she stands up at the end of class and is like, you suck, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, I skipped ahead. So she says, stay out of my way. I will make the school a living hell for you. And that was Paris to Rory.
That was not nice.
Not nice at all. All right.
Let Emily hear that.
So here's this.
Emily would not put up with that.
We see Lorelai walking into her mother's hair salon.
Yeah, this is funny.
But it's one of those moments where Lorelai, oh, did you need to walk into the hair salon in front of all of her friends and chew her out?
See?
But she basically says there will be no cars. There will be no parking places.
Spaces.
And there will be no internet. The mother will provide. That's what she says. I will provide. And that she appreciates the payment for school, but that Rory is her daughter and she decides how they live. Mic drop.
Walks out.
Could it have been handled in a phone call? Maybe.
It's not nice.
But she had to walk in and do her mic drop moment.
Mm-hmm.
After a tough day at Chilton and a tough day at work, the Lorelais made it through their first day as Lorelai sips coffee outside of Chilton and Rory comes out and they embrace for a long time. They just have to, what is the thing? We heard that. Is it 25 seconds that you need a hug to be able to actually feel better?
And it releases endorphins and stuff in your body.
So they hugged for a good long while.
But what about the parking place? Lorelai just parks right in front of Thor.
Maybe that's where Rory's parking spot is.
Mm.
I'm just joking. But that is kind of funny. Did she
Yeah.
park in the parking spot that
No,
she
she's
bought?
like, she's on the sidewalk or something. It looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they both admit that their days were awful. Long, scary, bad 8 hours. Those were the words. Long, scary, bad 8 hours. Which I can understand sometimes.
Yeah.
We all have those days. So this is when Rory mentions the Mary.
It's funny.
And Lorelai immediately recognizes it, which is funny. And I'm not, again, I poke at your age, but sometimes as best friends, I'll like say something, or I'll be like, what does this mean? And you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's funny how Lorelai also had experienced that and knew that reference.
Mm-hmm.
She says that they are referring to the Virgin Mary and that it means that Rory looks like a goody-goody. And Rory asked what she would have been called if she had looked less goody-goody, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorelai says they probably would have added Magdalene to it.
Mary Magdalene.
Which is funny. And then we flash back over to Lane, Rory, and Lorelai walking through Stars Hollow. Lane misses Rory, but I think that Rory had a good. I mean, it was a tough first day, but we know that she'll later fit in. So Rory, of course, says the same to Lane, and Lane leaves, and Rory talks to Lorelai about Paris. And I think she gained some confidence because of Lorelai and her advice. And then what does Lorelai ask?
What do you think of Luke?
I know what I think of Luke.
We know.
So Rory says, no way, you can't date Luke. If you date him, you'll break up and we will have to stop eating there. Date Al from Pancake World. His food stinks. And they say, no, Al actually stinks.
No,
It's not his food.
Al, he stinks.
And then the episode ends with Luke walking out of Luke's and
You may have missed it. Go
just
back and watch
looking.
it.
It's the sweetest.
Yeah, he just stands on his little steps.
We all
outside
need a
the
Luke
door.
outside the door.
Yeah. Just
Isn't
gazing
that awesome?
at
Yeah.
you walking away.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of my favorite episodes. I think the first day at Chilton was very entertaining.
Yeah.
For us,
I thought
maybe
it
not
was
for
great.
Rory, but it's fun. You get a look into their chaotic life that we all have fallen in love with. And later we see how it all comes together. And knowing how it later comes together, we're like, oh, this first day, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Could have been worse.
Could have been worse.
What was your overall thoughts about the episode?
It was good.
It's not one of your faves.
No, not really.
Your favorites are like later on in
Yeah.
the seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
Totally agree.
Well, thanks so much for listening. We are excited to be sharing another Friday night dinner with you guys Friday. So make sure you check that out. If you missed Monday's episode, this episode probably didn't make much sense. So go listen.
And there could be what do you call it? You could do a poll to see what food they want to cook on Friday.
Oh, for next Friday, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. That would be interesting. I could put a few different options out and y'all could vote. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. We hope you guys have a great Wednesday, a great Thursday, and we'll see you Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern.